The Oklahoma City Thunder currently have the best regular season defense in NBA history. Better than the '08 Celtics, better than any Spurs defense ever, better than the Garden bloodying Knicks or the Bad Boys Pistons, and better than our estimates of even Bill Russell's Celtics. Every one of these defenses has had at least one, if not two, dominant rim protectors. The 2020 Bucks, the best regular season defense of the pace and space era, went twin towers with Brook Lopez and that Giannis fellow. The 2022 Warriors were sort of the exception. They were 8.5 points ahead of the league before Draymond Green went down with an injury, and they were pretty small and rangy as a group. We've already discussed OKC's micro ball lineups this season, but what strikes me so much is they've built a perfect horizontal defense to counter the stretched out pace and space era by prioritizing speed and length over size. This looks like great man defense from Lou Dort, but he's actually way behind the play on the turnover, jogs for a second, and then just books it down court to blitz Luka Doncic, which allows the smaller Isaiah Joe to switch out of the play. Alex Caruso sees this happening and rotates over to Kyrie so Joe can recover to the weak side, and then Dort locks down Luka, and that is extraordinary perimeter coverage. Part of being really fast and rangy is staying in front of the ball and containing dribble penetration. So even though they have 4 defenders at 6'5" or under on the floor, the Knicks' 3 best offensive players are all completely stonewalled on this trip, and they actually go backwards on this play. But their speed and ability to cover ground shows up most in help situations, where they usually have 4 or even 5 players on the court who are deadly in passing lanes. That was Kendrick Williams, who plays a lot of center for them, zoning up 2 shooters, closing to the wing, and then beating the pass to the corner. They have this completely unrivaled ability to just swarm the ball in help and cause total destruction. But they also recover faster than anyone. Dort attacks the ball here, then races Jalen Williams out to the shooter, and on the extra pass, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is there as the ball arrives, so there's no real advantage. And this one is an all-out clinic where Dort sits in Jason Tatum's driving gap, Aaron Wiggins lurks in the passing lane, then rotates way out. Their center is there to run a shooter off the line, and Shai finishes it with the stuff at the rim. All this speed allows for higher pickup points on the floor. Alex Caruso is the center in this lineup, but he can fly around making plays like this because their agility makes it hard to set up basic offense. This was a huge part of their second half comeback over the Celtics recently, pushing the offense higher out on the floor. So when Tatum comes off this screen, he's about 8 feet behind the three-point line, and that's not an easy shot. OKC has multiple point-of-attack defenders who can extend like this and just make basic actions a nightmare. Alex Caruso wrecked that play, and he's really good at deflecting or intercepting short-range passes like this. And this is the best collection of hands that I've ever seen on a single team. From Caruso to Case and Wallace, who is not safe to dribble around even if you're Kyrie Irving, and his nearly 6'9" wingspan reaches into tight quarters, going in between the elbow and the body here to snatch this one. Dort has an identical 6'9" wingspan to Wallace, so that's more length in the passing lanes, and yet another really long guard to attack the ball in help. And Lou has strong and active mitts, swiping at this one twice before taking it. Shai has a 6'11" wingspan, and he not only uses that to cause problems like this, but he can also reach through people and dispossess them with that length. And J-Dub is the longest of the group with a 7'2" wingspan that does some insane stuff, like reaching through the handoff here to tap it back to himself, or again, making passing tricky, just stuffing this bounce pass. And all this means dribbling into traffic or just dribbling in general is dangerous around half the Thunder roster. which is why they lead the league in points off turnovers. If we look at forcing turnovers since they've been tracked, the Thunder are 6th all-time right now relative to league average. And the 98 Celtics literally full-court trap most of the game, while the 94 Sonics love to half-court trap. So it's been over 40 years since an elite defense has forced turnovers like this without an aggressive gimmick. And you can see this in modern tracking data, where the Thunder are outliers since deflections have been tracked back in 2017. OKC has these stretches where they overwhelm opponents with their pressure and intensity, like basically no team I've ever seen at the NBA level. Against Minnesota, they forced 11 turnovers in the third quarter alone, where they were just flying around the court, switching when needed, jumping in passing lanes, and just dispossessing ball handlers. At times, it feels like they have 6 defenders out there instead of 5 because their speed, agility, and length blanket the entire floor. And after a while, that really wears down opposing offenses where they can't even execute basic handoffs or get the ball inside the three-point arc. Remember, all this happened at once in the same quarter against a playoff team that literally struggled to move the ball inside the three-point line, which gets us to the counterintuitive reason that this small and swarming defense has the Thunder in position to win the championship. So far, we've discussed Oklahoma City's speed, pressure, and unmatched ability to force turnovers. But there's a surprising byproduct to their horizontal game that's been sitting right under our nose. It's really hard for teams to get the ball into the paint. Nearly every play we've reviewed thus far has ended before the offense touched the lane, and only 2 made it all the way to the rim. So, despite going small and spending a third of their season without a single big man on the court, teams can't easily score on OKC near the basket. Incredibly, these small and speedy Thunder give up the fewest points in the paint in the NBA, and according to tracking data, the second fewest points at the rim area. And they do this by defending those shots well and by keeping teams out of that area in the first place. Now, they do have some traditional rim protection with their big men. Isaiah Hartenstein has done a nice job with Chet Holmgren out, although he's not really an upper echelon rim protector. Those really long wings also provide vertical protection around the basket, whether it's SGA or Lou Dort snatching shots from behind, or Lou Dort protecting the rim against Kyrie. And of course, there's the incomparable J-Dub, who is an elite rim protecting wing with that 7-foot plus wingspan, and his length occasionally produces these Draymond Green-like plays around the basket. But the less obvious element to their paint protection is just keeping the ball out of the paint in the first place. As we've discussed, this can be staying in front of ball handlers and keeping them on the outside, but it's also helping to protect the paint and then recovering to the perimeter quickly. And this is where their speed really shines. Wallace can lunge at Tatum here and cause him to prematurely pick up his dribble because he's quick enough to recover to the shooter. So while they fly around on the outside, what they really prioritize is flying in to help in the paint, basically contracting like an accordion, then uncoiling back to the outside, and this is essentially horizontal rim protection. They don't need great shot blockers or twin towers because they're so quick to help that you don't even get off a shot. They excel at the non-vertical ways to protect the basket, whether that's good team positioning or using their destructive hands to prevent a shot from even going up. Teams will try to go after them in mismatches, but throwing entry passes around this group is dangerous. And again, this comes back to their agility and speed, recovering back to the paint quickly, or closing a driving gap by pouncing like cats to smother the ball down low. Right now, they have 5 of the top 16 defenders in the entire league, according to estimated plus minus, 6 if you include Chet Holmgren. And their 9th best defender in this stat is Dort, who's probably a little underrated here and might make an all-defense team after narrowly missing last season. And there's one other subtle component to this success. The Thunder are a difficult team to effectively screen. Dort went through that pick like he was walking through a cloud, and we saw this play earlier where Jaylen Brown fumbles it away for a turnover, but it doesn't happen without Kenrich just slingshotting around this pick and staying glued to Brown. So this is a team with a ton of players who will fight through screens. Then most of the roster can just switch without creating a mismatch. That just completely nullifies any advantage for the Celtics here. And again, the ball never breaks the three-point line. Philosophically, the Thunder want to fight through most screens to neuter them, but they're also an incredible switching team, almost dictating the terms of the switch, so the offense has no advantage on the roll or on the ball, and they keep them out of the paint again. Their positioning and communication on their switches is just so sound, where on a play like this, Dort's fighting the screen, Kenrich sees his position and perfectly switches to kill the action. Then, when they try another three-man action, Kenrich blows it up without a switch, and all of this just eats up the clock. They're always so coordinated as a unit. Dort is sagged off his man to help on this handoff, then starts barking at J-Dub to switch the incoming screen, and Ivica Zubac panics by throwing the ball into his own face, somewhat understandably. And this one's a perfectly executed triple switch, with Kenrich taking the ball, Wiggins taking Kenrich's man, and J-Dub spinning around to take Wiggins' man, and then they try to post a smaller player, so Dort helps out to get it down low. Peel switching is basically a walk in the park for them, so this defense is as modern as they come. They'll play five smalls, stick Dort and Caruso on centers, and they'll even start a possession in a zone, then switch to a man in the middle of the possession, and this is just next level coaching that requires a really aware group of versatile defenders who can communicate well and are always on the same page. So, their scheme mirrors their personnel. Switch when needed, help a ton in the paint, know your opponent's scouting report, then swarm around to help contain the ball while quickly recovering to the perimeter and also create pressure at every opportunity. They can vary their matchups constantly, they know when to help, and this play just sums it up. We looked at Cleveland's great movement on the NBA's channel this year, but the Thunder help and recover over this screen, then linger to attack the dribbler while a wing protects the basket. And because Shea's in the paint, Williams instantly rotates out to his man in the corner, and at this point Shea would normally recover to Jaylen's man, but he hangs out in case there's penetration to the rim, so Joe just sprints to the wing instead. Another defender slides to Joe's man, and Caruso bumps out to the wing, and now everyone's fully covered, and Karis LeVert is like, please come help me, and then Caruso just takes his lunch. That's insane. When we include the playoffs, the 2004 Pistons have the strongest argument for best defense of the three-point era, but they were never stretched by today's spaced-out offenses. OKC's also had some good shooting luck that will likely regress to the mean, but they do prioritize stronger shooters, and it's not easy shooting against their physicality and pace. So it's too early to say where this defense ultimately finishes, but Mark Dagnall has implemented a cutting-edge modern scheme that bends and flows with his quick, versatile group of high IQ defenders. And despite going small, they're somehow at the top of the league in paint protection. So yeah, I think this just might be the perfect blueprint for a modern NBA defense. To support this channel, patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. That's where we have proprietary stats on teams and players throughout the year. We also have a Discord community, and you can get all of our extra video content over there, or sign up on YouTube as a member, where we also live stream the podcast. Thanks for watching all the way to the end on this one. Hope you enjoyed it and that you are having a great day.